Hey, y'all, I'm joined with Josh Strickland, former wide receiver, played at Morehouse, based out of Atlanta, from Noonan, Georgia, family man, career man. He's done a lot. He's doing a lot. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Doing great. How you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
Good. So, what's been going on? What's been, life has been life, and we've been trying to catch up the last week. I know you got the little one, your
Yep.
wifey, trying to
Yep.
work. You got your own business. You
Yep.
on the road. So, how's life been going?
It's been busy, super busy. This summer's been crazy. Trying my best to kind of manage it, manage working and family. But so I graduated finally this past spring. It's been a super long journey. And I'm looking to start a career in data analytics. I think it's the direction I'm going to go. I graduated with a BA in finance, but originally I planned on doing financial planning, but I think I'm just going to try to focus on numbers a little bit this fall. With my business, it gets to be a lot dealing with people, so I'm gonna try to just go the numbers route for a little bit, and maybe after a couple years come back to finance. But it's been a busy time. The business has been really good this summer, so enjoying that, staying busy, and then, like I said, looking at making a little bit of a pivot this fall for sure.
Data analytics, that's a good field to be in, especially
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Data, anything with numbers,
I'm
computers, technology, all of that.
I'm a big numbers guy, so I'm like, man, that sounds like right up my avenue for sure.
Yeah, especially I remember you and Juan and Brandon and all y'all had your notebooks out there trying to what was it, the fantasy football league
Yeah. Oh
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's coming right back, so it's time for it. That
Yeah, we're
draft
gonna get
coming
into
in a couple
that
weeks.
too. I haven't really gotten into the fantasy stuff, but I just like to watch and enjoy
Yeah.
and then do my little podcast, but
Yeah.
that's about it. So let's talk about your journey at Morehouse, which it
Mhm.
really has been a journey because, like you said, you started, you had to stop, and then you
Mhm.
went back. So talk
Mhm.
about your experience when you first got it on campus. You're playing football, everything's
Mhm.
going good. Explain how that went.
Man, it was I guess a little bit of a culture shock for sure. So I transferred to Morehouse from Auburn. Started at Morehouse in 2016. So first off, it's HBCU, so all black. Then it's all guys school too. So it's like a big difference. You're kind of like, it's almost somewhat military feel, I guess, just being on campus as it's all focused, which was great though at the same time. Like being in the classroom, completely different culture wise, and then just being amongst each other. Everybody really is trying to learn, and we push each other a lot to do the best that we can. It's really competitive in class, so that was great. I felt like I was much more geared to learn at Morehouse than I was at Auburn. But football wise, so it was a long time off, about 8 years, truthfully, from the last time I played. So trying to get back into shape, trying to get back into just the sport itself was a bit difficult. I think at first, it was fine just being on the field, being an athlete on the field. But for me, like I felt like I was a little bit better of an athlete at one point in time. So thinking that I'm going to come right back into the same status or position that I was probably just a little bit of overreach for me. So definitely had to relearn the game a little bit, relearn how to play, get back into shape for sure. And then I tried my best to have fun. I would say that's about one knock on it. I was so focused on like being the best that I could. I probably didn't enjoy it to the fullest, but at the same time, like I did have a blast. Like it was a great experience for sure, definitely.
So what talk about that pause, that in between time as to like why you even had to leave and like, what made you want to go back? Because most people would have just been like, oh, it didn't work out. That's it,
Hmm.
it's done, it's in
Hmm.
my past. So like one kind of get into, if you don't mind, why you had to leave and then what drove you to come back and kind of finish what you started.
So I got there 2016. It was a bit tough. Morehouse is kind of expensive, so I ended up taking out student loan. My brother helped me out taking out a loan to pay for my tuition at first, and then going into 2017 school year, I got a bit of a scholarship from the college, and so that helped me essentially to get to where like, all right, at least your books are taken care of, and then you just have to worry about, I guess, anything extracurricular tuition wise, to kind of cover your balance, but once football season ended, fall of 2017, I was left with that balance because I was no longer on the team. And so I basically just had 2 years to play, being a transfer student. So once football season ended, I no longer had tuition assistance. I had a balance, and I needed to pay that balance back before I was able to continue school. I could take classes, but I would be basically purged from my classes to where I would have to just take whatever I can get into, which wasn't classes that met my curriculum. So I was like, "There's no point of me taking these classes just to be here. I'll come back, pay it off, and then I'll come back as a full-time student once I can." So I tried. I think I paid off probably like in 2 years, I want to say, and then we tried to come back 2021. I want to say was the first time, and struggled a little bit, and I finally got back in fall of 2022. So made it happen and graduated this past spring. So yeah.
Oh, yes, congratulations. Now
Thank you. Thank
you
you.
came back and you started getting into football.
Mhm.
And I know the guys were like eating you up, like, man, you too old to be
Yeah.
playing, with the young guys, you're
Yeah.
gonna get hurt, you got a family, think about all that. What made you still say, I'm gonna go back and and try to get back on the field and trying to finish my dream? What made you make that?
Yeah. Like I say, like I felt like I was just kind of getting reacclimated. When I first started back to play. So it was like I know I just had it in me to do a little bit better. I had a little bit left to give, and I had kind of kept playing like some flag or just recreational football. So I saw myself getting better over time. And so once I got back into school, I was like, man, this is opportunity. Like I'm in decent shape. I worked my way in last summer into trying to get into a little bit better shape right before the school year started. Try to come into the season in good shape, and I was like, man, if the opportunity presents itself and I can play, it was why not to me. It was other people like why, and I was like, why not? You know what I mean? Like let's go do it. Let's get it.
Mhm.
I was super excited. I tried like literally up until week 6 in the season. I'm talking to the head coach, to the AD, to everybody. Like, hey man, like we're struggling as a team. I'm here in great shape still. I know I'm a little bit older, but if we can make it happen, why not? But it just didn't work out. But I was still excited just about the possibility of being able to play. So just
Yeah, what was their
love.
reaction? Like, what was their feedback to you? Did they kind of hit you with the, oh man, you're too old, you too, to compete, or, leave it alone? What was that conversation like a little
It
bit?
it was mixed. It definitely was mixed. Like some people, like, what are you doing here? Like you still trying to play? Especially some of my former teammates. Some I had a few who were kind of like what? Like what's we done. We're not playing anymore. I had a couple guys like, bro, like we could have used you last year. If you would have came back then. I was like, man, I've been trying to come back. Same thing with coaching staff. Like a couple of the coaches were like, man, we could really use you if you could play. A couple coaches like, man, let the kids play, whatever, blah blah blah. And I'm kind of like, in my mind, I'm looking at both sides a little bit too, but at the same time, like I'm not in ultimate control. So if I get a chance to play, I get a chance to play. I know remember seeing a lot of old guys go back and play, like Chris Winker for one. I mean, he wasn't quite as old. We just had like, especially former baseball guys, and I remember hearing about a guy at South Carolina State whose dad actually came out to play with him while he was there as a student. They both were on the team practicing together. So I'm like, I mean, it's obviously not against NCAA rules. Like I wouldn't just be an exception. So I mean, granted, I probably would have tried to take advantage of it and maybe excel a little bit more than the other guys who tried to do it. But at the same time, like I was just gonna give it what I could and try to do my best in that situation for sure.
Now, even though your football career wasn't necessarily smooth sailing, but
Mhm.
you think, did you ever have plans of going pro, or was college the end all be all? Or did, it was a smooth sailing. So did your journey go as planned once you did get back on track?
No, absolutely not. Like I was all the way pro. Like it was pro or bust for me. Like so that's why I say like that last season I don't think I enjoyed it as much because when I came back, I contributed to the team for sure. But I had way bigger expectations for myself, especially like I just growing up I was pretty advanced as a player and then I didn't quite see that in high school. I think I was growing a little bit later than the other guys. Like I graduated, I was 6 feet, maybe 5'11". I ended up getting to college and growing like 3 more inches. So I ended up like I'm 6'3" now. So I just was a little bit of a late bloomer. So just having that size and height, being a football player at that time, like I was like, man, I just know I'm going to do my thing on the field this fall. I felt that way going into 2017 for sure. 2016, I was a little more so just whatever I can get out of it, and kind of like getting back acclimated to playing. And so I made an impact on special teams. So 2017, I was looking at like I'm be full time just wide receiver. And I played a little bit of safety in 2016 too. So 2017, I was just gonna be full time wide receiver. Like I'm trying to do some numbers, get on there and make some big plays. Which I didn't get that chance to, which is it is what it is. But to me, I just felt like I was not being able to put my best out there with that. So it was a little bit discouraging, but at the same time, still a blast, man. I still had people kind of even talk to my wife, talk to me about like staying healthy. How you feel about him playing at the next level? You know, these kind of conversations. I'm like, man, it still was there, and I feel like if I probably put a little bit more into it, just continue giving my all, and not feeling as if like I'm not being able to put it out there. You just kind of give what you can, and let God basically do the rest. It probably would have, been a little bit better for me. But hey, you just do what you can, essentially.
So like what was that like mentally or emotionally for you? Just knowing like how much you really wanted something. Did it take a mental or like emotional toll at any
Absolutely,
point?
absolutely. Consistently throughout. I look at myself on tape. Playing in 2016 compared to 2017, like it was fire behind me in 2016. 2017, I'm kind of like going through the motions. I'm doing my job, and I'm kind of just making sure that I don't do a bad job, but I'm not doing a great job. I can just see it in my play. I felt it as a person, kind of feeling deflated. But uh, the situation itself, I wouldn't say the situation, the position that I was in itself was still optimistic for me, just because I came from not playing for so long to being able to do it again. Like I couldn't just look at life like I'm just getting, the short end of the draw all the time. I'm looking at it like, man, you can kind of do whatever you put your mind to. So I couldn't just be too down on myself. Granted, it sucked a little bit, but I was always optimistic about the future, and I still am all the time.
So what advice would you what would you tell your younger self, number one, and then what would you also tell kids your age that are coming up and maybe they had some challenges to where they had to start school, transfer, couldn't get in, or maybe didn't get the scholarship they wanted. What advice
Mhm.
would you give your younger self as well as other kids out there?
Just go get it, whatever it is, like, that you definitely have your heart and mindset on. Like you're going to hear all the doubt from all sides, probably even within a little bit too, but if your heart is set on it, like you can't stop thinking about it. Go get it, man. I think I just didn't enjoy the process enough. People are always like looking at their situation like what it could be, should be, especially social media makes that a lot more um difficult to kind of focus in on what you're doing too. So definitely just go get it, enjoy the process, understand that, whatever you put into it, you will get out of it. And I think you kind of just do what you can. I mean, obviously there's going to be politics and maybe, people having the ability to control situations that you quite can't control, but whatever you can control, we got to do our best. So I think that'd be my biggest thing. Like I was in a position at the least to make an impact. It might not have been the impact that I wanted to make. So I probably should have just taken advantage of it to the fullest. That'd be the main thing, definitely for sure.
Live it to the fullest. I like
Yeah,
that. So
absolutely.
what was the decision to go from let's go back to Auburn for a little bit, for
Hmm.
you to leave Auburn and then go to Morehouse? Because that is a big jump. Like you said, a different environment. Like you have a lot more students, a diverse background per se versus, and then of course is both, a lot of different
Yeah,
people there. I would say,
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what the politically correct term, I
yeah.
don't want to.
PWI is what they call
Yeah,
it.
you got the PWI, but then you also got, everybody. You have
Yeah,
women, you have men to,
yeah, yeah.
Morehouse, which is an all boys school, all male
Hmm.
school.
Hmm.
So why did you feel like this is the right move? Like, or what made you go from an Auburn to a Morehouse? Now we do know, like for those who know in the HBCU world, uh, Morehouse is that school, especially in Atlanta. So
Absolutely.
like if you get it, but like for those who may not understand, why did you make that jump?
Um, I was considering Morehouse coming out of high school. I actually visited Morehouse. I went on visits to Morehouse, and Georgia Tech. I think those are the only two visits I think I took coming out of high school. So it was a thought in my mind at that time. I think I didn't really want to do, I don't know if I didn't really want to do all boys or HBCU at that time. I think I was kind of like, I would rather not kind of like narrow my mindset into thinking like the real world is going to be like this, essentially, to where we can kind of like just seclude ourselves and just want to learn that aspect. But so I think going to Auburn out of high school was probably good for me. It was definitely even still a culture shock going to school in Alabama. It was a bit difficult at times, I think, for me to even focus. Like I missed home a lot. I missed Atlanta a lot, and essentially as just a city, the culture itself. And so Auburn was fun during football season, but outside of that, it wasn't quite the same. It was a lot like I'm like, man, I got to get out of here essentially. So, and I think at the time when I was getting ready to go back to school, I had a choice between mainly I was looking at Morehouse and West Georgia. I think between those two, and I just was big on like, we needed ourselves, especially younger black men. We needed kind of like some direction and kind of like some body to see like overcoming obstacles a little bit. And so I was like, man, this will be big for people who know me, for me to get back into school, especially me to playing ball. Like I said, I had big dreams on the field. And I knew that was my intentions going into it. So I think it was necessary a little bit. And also like I probably needed Morehouse too. So I think that was great for me. Great confidence builder, especially when I went back to school and was able to really just focus on being a student and somewhat excel in the classroom. I was like, okay, cool. Like you did have that in you the whole time. You might have just needed a great situation to bring it out of you. So all around, like I think it was meant to be. Truthfully, man, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Absolutely not.
Man, I was out there last summer or last fall rather. And I can't remember, were you with us when we went to
No, to homecoming.
Man, I always heard about Morehouse homecoming
Yeah.
coming up, and like my godfather went there too. So I always heard about Morehouse homecoming. And y'all, when I say it was packed, it was so many people I didn't even see. Like I got back on social media and I'm like, oh, so and so was there. Like,
Yeah.
it was a big deal, especially
Yeah.
like, all the schools. Of course, you had Spelman, you got Clark Atlanta, and all the other schools down there. But yeah, it was popping. It was popping.
Man, I kind of told myself I wouldn't go back to homecoming until I graduated. So I kind of put myself on a little bit of
Okay,
punishment.
I like that though. It gives you something to look forward to
Yeah.
work towards
Yeah.
and keep you
Yeah.
focused. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like what was your biggest challenge, coming from, being out of school for X amount of years, about what was it, 8 years you said? 6, 8 years?
It was so
Like,
that was my football break. I was
okay,
only out of school. I think I was out of school for like 3 years.
okay.
Yeah, two
So
and a half.
but like going to school in your early 20s versus now, you have a whole family. Like, was it
Mhm.
different? Did it feel weird? You walk around campus with a backpack, everybody like 21, 20 years
Yeah,
old. Like, what was that feeling like?
man. This last time when I went back, like last fall, just to finish up, it was I felt so much older. Like in the classrooms, I couldn't even like relate to a lot of stuff. Luckily, I guess I looked somewhat younger, so people didn't really know I was quite as old as I was. But yeah, it was definitely tough. I would have to do a lot of communication with my wife, like, hey, I'm gonna be on campus a little bit later. I gotta go to a meeting here and there. And she was great and really supportive, especially with our son and stuff like that. And I brought him one day too. So that was cool. People were kind of like, oh, you got a son? Like it's kind of like just threw people off a little bit. But
Not knowing that you grown.
yeah, it was like, oh, you got like real responsibilities. You're not
Yeah.
just a student like us. But I mean, overall, though, it was a good time. It was a different level of focus that I kind of brought out of myself. I treated basically the year started out like it was finals a little bit. Just kind of like really studying early on throughout the year and making it consistent. But just time management. A lot of my peers didn't know that I was back in school, so talking with them about that was a little bit like having them understand like, hey, I'm in school, so like my life is a little bit different right now. It was a little bit kind of a challenge in there communication wise, but overall it was great. I would say I think maybe getting used to hearing my classmates talk about chat GPT and stuff like that was a little bit different, and just kind of like, oh man, we use like tools to help us out. I'm like, oh, I'm not used to doing all of that. I'm gonna just do what I
Yeah.
can.
How was that? Like, I'm closer to being out of school than you
Yeah,
are, and we still didn't have like chat GPT. We had laptops, and of
yeah,
course we had, what was it? The little some of the online websites, I can't even think of the name, Quizlets and all
yeah, Spark
like
Notes
stuff,
and stuff
Spark
like that.
Notes. Yeah, we had
Yeah,
that. We
yeah,
was just getting started. But like,
yeah.
how was that? Like,
Man, it's I felt my age in that for
okay.
sure. Like I'm just trying to like keep up with the times, and like I'm not quite acclimated to it. So I'm like, man, I'm just gonna kind of like try to do my own thing without it as much as I can. And I'm somewhat not to say that this is what everybody's doing or whatever, but I mean it's there for people to use a lot. So it's a lot easier to kind of like at least get a grasp of what your answer should sound like. And then you kind of like go from there and put your own twist on it. A little bit of summarize, and it helps you do a lot of things. It's probably like a more of a, I would say it's much more of a time saver for a lot of people. So I think I probably had to put in a little more time than others with that. But I mean, I wasn't in a space of like trying to party or anything. So
Yeah.
uh,
Did you do you just an opinion based question? Do you think like having the technology and the chat GPT will make us like it's supposed to help us move us forward, make things quicker, more efficient, but
mhm,
knowledge wise, because like we actually had to write in our notebooks and textbooks, and like you
mhm,
said, we might have had a Quizlet here or there or something like that. But
mhm.
to have like access to all these different technologies where people can, I guess, quote unquote, take shortcuts and not really
Yeah.
study and know the material, do you think it's gonna like eventually catch up to people to where they get into the field or their career, they just as clueless as they were before they went to school?
Hands down, hands
Oh,
down. Like people gonna be lost, man. Like the actual assignments, nah, man. Like it's gonna be rough. When people have to really do things that they're not allowed to. Imagine like if you're in a situation where you don't have your device on hand to even like get that assistance. Nah, it's terrible. The professors know too. Is the worst part. Professor, I talked to one of my professors a lot, and she was telling me about it. Like she can tell when students use it and own answers. You can just tell the voice is different. And she was saying the same. Like it's gonna hurt you in the long run. And people I talked to in about entry level position wise, starting careers, and they were saying the same thing. Like you can use that now to get by, but once you're here and we need you to get things done, like you're gonna have to start over essentially. So uh, as long as people are prepared, I guess it kind of like, is what it is.
yeah.
But definitely think,
I guess that's where the millennials will have that advantage, like that
yeah,
knowledge. Like we actually have to study, and I'm on
yeah,
the cusp, but I don't know if I claim that other generation.
yeah,
I'm literally
yeah,
right on the cusp. But yeah,
yeah,
we actually we had technology, but not to the point to where we had to rely on it so heavily. So
yeah,
it'll be
definitely.
interesting to see how that plays out and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. But yeah, so you're going to school, you have your business as well.
Mm-hmm.
How working and all those things like maintaining so much because even
Mm-hmm.
when I was there in Atlanta for those couple months, you would be hustling, trying to do your job, your day job. How was that balancing a business as well as going to school and everything like that?
Man, it wasn't terrible. I think it was a little bit favorable throughout the semester, just being able to have flexibility with my time, like not having a set 9 to 5 somewhere that I have to be, and I can kind of control my schedule a little bit. But it was a responsibility that probably is consistent. So I think just having to stay on top of it every single day, as well as staying on top of my schoolwork, was a little bit of a struggle balancing in there. I say that it would really hit me around finals time, though. We were like super busy with work with my business, and I was really trying to study. So I'm like on the road taking exams and stuff like that, preparing and stuff like that. So man, I didn't account for we had a trip to South Georgia, and I'm like, okay, well, I know I got this job, and I'm going to take the exam on the trip down. It's about a 2 hour drive. I'm like, that's perfect window wise. I didn't account for not having service on back roads, and so I struggled with that. Like I missed like 20 questions on my exam. I didn't even get the answer. I'm like, golly, like it was it was a little bit tough there, but overall though, I think it was great. I think having the business kind of like helped me be able to manage my time to work and still try to make money and stuff like that. So I think it benefited me more than hindered me for sure.
I'm keep hearing the same thing like balance, focus, using your time wisely,
Mhm.
all really like played a role to like where you are now
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like having that adversity to continue on no matter what's going on. How do you feel just looking back over the last 10 years per saying like, dang, I actually accomplished it,
Hmm.
things are coming together. You got your family, you got the career going, about to take on a new career journey, you finish school. Like how does it feel just kind of like sitting back? Or have you had that moment to just like sit back and take it all in?
Sort of frequently I do that, man. Like I'll just sit back and reflect, and like I'm so thankful. Like a lot of days, kind of just like, man, it's a blessing to have that time and to be able to do positive things with it. The blessings that I receive, and I kind of like push forward and turn them into more. I try to essentially, man, it's kind of like it, it's my goal essentially, but also like actually seeing yourself do it is kind of like, man, like it's just eye opening. And it's empowering, I think, for sure. Like believing that I can continue to do more. That's probably half the reason I thought I could go back and play last fall. Like, man, you're 30 years old, you can't play football. I'm sure I can. I definitely can.
And they ate y'all. They ate you up, man. They got to meaning like all the friend group back in Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah,
Him and he told the guys one day that he was going back. They probably had like a 30-minute conversation about why he couldn't. That's why you got to follow your heart, do what you're gonna do.
yeah,
They ate
absolutely.
him up, talking about he was
Yeah,
too old. They was gonna break his hips and
yeah,
bones, and he
yeah.
couldn't compete with the young cats. And
They was like, man, I'm gonna do it too. Then if you can,
yeah, like I mean, I understood both sides. Like they want
yeah,
you to be cautious.
yeah.
Their point of view is, I think, like, what happens if you get injured? How do you take care of your wife and your son? How do you support them if something happens to you?
Yeah,
But you like, I'm in shape. I've been working out this whole time. Y'all ain't seen what I've been doing behind the scenes.
yeah, 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 for sure.
So
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of part of it, man. I think the opportunity itself is a blessing. Of course, I'm always looking at things like that. And so, yeah, I definitely take time to reflect and look back and be like, man, like I've been doing some things. I hear a lot. I'm proud of you, or more. Let me say not a lot, but I hear them, and I'm kind of like, why? Like what you proud of me about? Like I feel like I'm finally doing the things I probably, we all kind of like have like this view of our life. So I feel like I should have a while ago, but at the same time, doing and still just getting it done is a big accomplishment. So I'm appreciative of it, but also kind of looking at life as a glass half full. You still look at it like, man, it's great to get here. You've accomplished so much, and now you kind of got like more responsibilities. Essentially,
right.
like, hey, you got to take it and you do even more with it. So I do have those moments, but I'm also like, all right, well, wake up tomorrow, rent is due. I got to go do it again. Essentially.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race. It's a marathon, it's a journey, and like you
Yep.
said earlier, like that comparison. And I think now we had that social media sometimes, and
Easily.
I've learned within the recent, I'll probably say last year or two, to really just kind of like, it's cool, to see what other people are doing and say, okay, I aspire to be like that, but long as it's not impacting you in a negative way, you're not to the point to where you're comparing and just feeling like you're not there yet, or you have to be at a certain place. Because I think I was guilty of that at some point in my life. And just
Definitely.
learning to just appreciate where I am, and that everybody's journey is unique. And so like when you was it a point to where, if I'm not mistaken, did your brother play in school?
He did.
So
So my brother.
like how was that? Like, like comparing, like did you ever find yourself comparing like his journey to yours?
I would probably, yeah, I do that now a little bit, and I think it's probably a good thing, better than a bad. Like I just saw how much he overcame. So my brother, like, he walked on at Georgia Tech. Prior to that, he actually had leukemia. So he just overcame that, walked on to Georgia Tech. Um, Found his way into the NFL. He played with the 49ers. Like 3 years later, he just kind of like was playing out in Germany. Just not even like the biggest European league. He was playing for a smaller team out in Germany, and somebody had a connection with a scout for the 49ers, and he just looked into it like, this guy plays hard. You should give him a tryout. He made the team in San Fran. So kind of similarly, he probably makes me believe like, man, if you got the heart to do it, man, somebody will find you and you can do it. So definitely, and similarly, he just started a business as well. He's been a lawyer for years. He just started a firm down in Noonan. So we do have similarities in our lifestyle, but I think it's great. It probably, if anything, just pushes me. I don't think it makes me look at him like, oh man, I'm not doing this. Like I just think it's eye opener. Like, hey man, the sky's the limit. Keep going. It's more you can do if you want, for sure.
So was going overseas ever like a thought, or is that something that you're considering?
I did consider it for a good wit there. I think this was like around COVID. Actually, I was looking at it. So, I was looking at. I was prepared to go to the combine 2018. So, following the 2017 season, when I first wasn't a student anymore at Morehouse, I was looking at trying out at the combine, and I ended up actually injuring my knee like 3 weeks before. So from that, I kind of like just started working. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see how this, when I get back in school, we'll see how it goes. It just took a lot longer than I was expecting to get back in school. And so since I didn't hit the combine, I feel like I still could play. I think that's how that works basically. Like I could still play, or actually, I think you can even go to some combines and still play a season two as long as you don't hire an agent. But I knew I still had the opportunity to play, so I was like, man, if I can go back and play one time and get that tape that I want to and send that out or whatever and go kill it at a pro day, do whatever I can. But yeah, I mean, I love the game. You always have that dream for sure. I don't think it leaves for probably any of us unless you kind of push it as far as you can go. I think it's kind of hard to, you see even former pro guys like, hey, I'm coming
Right.
back.
Right.
Like it's tough. It's just an itch, especially around this time of the year, man. It's like, oh man, I can smell it outside. The grass getting cut. It's hot. Like it smells really, it just smells like football. It's football time. So it's just in you.
So is that how you, or do you have any desires to coach maybe, or especially like, as your son starts to get older, maybe put him in it and like take on football from that aspect, or,
I'm kind of like just, I think I'm getting to that point where it now is kind of like, all right, I think like, all right, it's time to step back as much as possible, and kind of like pass the ball along. I definitely still have that drive. So I'm like, man, let me figure out a way to pour this passion into somebody else. So yeah, I'm looking at it now. My mom's talking to me about subbing as a teacher and then kind of like getting involved with some school teams. So it's something I've been looking at for probably like the past 2 years too. I'm always planning ahead. So I've definitely been looking at that.
That's good. So like,
Yeah.
okay, so now you got a little hobby on the side,
Mm-hmm.
the fantasy football stuff, which like I said, I'm kind of like foreign to that world. Like I know what it is. It's a big thing. So you picked up fantasy football. How has that been, that experience? Is it like, I guess keeping you excited and in on it, from that perspective?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been playing fantasy for a long time, so it's fun.
What is it like? Why people get like the way y'all would have to be in front of that TV with y'all alarm sets and notebooks, look like y'all was about to take an exam? Like I don't,
Man,
because I'm not in it, I don't understand. But y'all take it serious.
you got to, like, guys are right now, like preseason just started. Everybody's like, man, I gotta find me a gym. That's kind of like how competitive it is. Like it doesn't start out that way. You start out kind of just like, all right, we're just playing. I'm gonna pick me some guys or whatever. But like we have a league that's been running for probably like 7, 8 years now. So you know how competitive it is in the league. You know what it takes to win. Like it's tough. And we're a 10-team league, so it's super competitive in that nature. But so we're coming into it in the fall, and everybody's like, man, I got to figure out a way to get ahead. Like everybody always thinks it's their year to win. Like you don't see anybody in the group chat like, oh man, I think I might not play this year. I might not do too well this year. I ain't really got time. Everybody's like, it's my year. Y'all better get ready. So you got to figure out a way to kind of get ahead. And what it is you just pick players to be on your team. You pick skill players essentially, and then a defense, special teams, and kind of just watch them play. And however they do on Sundays, it'll benefit you as well. So you don't get that same reward as if you're playing, but
Right.
you feel a little bit of like, yeah, that's my guy, and it feels good.
I was over there. It was draft day, and man, y'all was all locked in. I was like, it looked like y'all about to watch the draft, the actual NFL draft.
Man, I'm a little bit behind. I still got my pad from last year though, so that saved me. I at least have my notes. I just got to make adjustments on that. But it's coming up in about 2 weeks here, so I'm about to start studying for it again, man.
Now, okay, I know we talked I'm going backwards a little bit here, but it just crossed my mind. So all these new leagues, the XFL, the USFL, have you ever considered, are you considering any of those? I know they're kind of new, but I don't know if Atlanta has any teams out there, but
I definitely did XFL. I think I even talked with somebody about potentially trying out for a team in the XFL. I talked about it recently. I'm still at that like little edge, like, man, am I, how am I looking at it right now? Like, I'm kind of looking at last season, like, all right, it didn't happen. I wasn't able to play. Is this my sign to kind of like step away from football for sure? I'm just looking at it right now.
One more try,
man. Like, like I wouldn't turn it down. I think I would. I'm about to start back working out right here soon. So I think getting into good shape. We'll see how I feel. Probably within about 2 months from now. I need probably a solid 2 months to really, really get into shape like I want to. And then we'll see from there. Kind of like I'm in decent shape. I want to really, really work out, get into better shape. So 2 months, maybe I might come back and view this whole thing and be like, all right, let's see what we're gonna do for sure. One last time for the Marvels. That sounds like potentially a plan. We'll see how. I'm kind of just taking it day by day right now for sure. Though. Like I had no idea I was going to continue working with my business throughout the summer and not look at pursuing a career right after graduation. I thought actually I would have a job leading up to graduation and then kind of be running my business on the side. So the last probably year has been just up in the air. Like I had no idea. Like even this time last year, I was thinking I was going to play football and be on the team and stuff like that, and end up actually participating in a cohort that I was kind of like advertising my business and talked to the people about an app that I want to work on, and got some investors involved and stuff like that. So that's something I'm looking at doing this fall too. So it's kind of just a lot, you kind of just go with what comes.
Yeah, go with the flow of
Yeah,
life.
yeah, I just keep preparing and being prepared for whatever I want, and whatever opportunities come, I'm just taking advantage of it for sure.
So we got to wrap up here soon. But before we go, I got to ask, what's your locker room tunes? Like, what songs or artists gets you hyped up, gets you in the zone when you get ready for competition for a game?
Man, I'm so Lil Baby. All Lil Baby. All the way. Like, I need Lil Baby.
Definitely
Like,
Atlanta kid.
oh man, I need all Lil Baby. Like, I was talking to, so I got some people who like, man, they so Future. Like, I like Drake a little bit just when I'm like riding or whatever, depending on the ride. But like when it's time to like, oh, my head need to start bobbing, my feet need to start moving a little bit, I'm Lil Baby. Oh
What's
man,
your, what's your top 5 Lil Baby songs?
top five, top five, top five. I probably got to go with Freestyle, for sure. I'm gonna go with man, that Can't Explain got me for some reason. California Breeze lately been
Ooh,
another for real,
yeah.
for real. And then let me see what else I got. Another one. I'll probably go with that Lil Baby and Drake. Which one is it?
Yes.
Uh
I
yeah,
can't.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, I understand. I can't even think of the name of
yeah.
the
I
song
probably
either.
go with that one. I think
Okay,
that's a good one for me. Yeah, I think that's probably a good five for me for sure, for
okay.
sure. Yeah.
Hey, well, thank you so much for chopping it up, explaining your story, your journey, sharing that with everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate you coming on. I wish you the best on your journey, whichever way you go, whether it's football, whether it's career. You got it. You've
Yes, ma'am.
already overcome so much, so you
Oh,
got your head on straight. And I wish you the best. Thank you so much.
yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me again. Good to see
Thank
you.
you. Okay.